Hey guys, welcome to Vesna TV. It's Vesna here. Thank you so much for stopping by. For today's video, I am creating several winter themed signs. So the first sign that I'm creating, I'm just using this scrap piece of wood that my husband got from his work. It came in like something was packaged and it had these pieces of wood that they would have thrown out. So I told him anytime there's scrap wood to bring it home because I'll make something beautiful out of it. So I'm just going to be making a nice sign on my fireplace, for my fireplace, and what I'm using is this decorative glaze from Rust-Oleum in the Java, and I will be just staining this piece of wood with this decorative glaze to give it a darker appearance. And the way I apply this is I do a darker coat, like a lighter coat, and then I add another coat to give it a little bit of a darker appearance. You can also let it dry in between if you wanted to, but I found because I did that lighter coat as I went back over it was already somewhat dry, and I'm just using a rag for this where I just kind of wipe on, wipe off, and that's it. So once it dries, then I use my Cricut to cut out this Let's Snuggle sign. Now you'll notice that I've kept the words together. So you want to make sure whenever you're doing like stencil signs like this using your vinyl, you want to weld the letters together. Otherwise, Cricut will try to make them all fit on like the smallest amount of space possible. And then you'll have to kind of worry about placing the letters on the same height and everything like that. So although you use a little bit more material, it's better to do it this way, I find. So I'm just going to put it here, Let's Snuggle, and then I'm going to cut out, I'm probably not going to use all those snowflakes, but I'll cut them out and place them wherever I need to. And when I do any kind of vinyl sign things, I use shelf liner or transfer paper. So right now I'm using shelf liner to transfer it, and then I've cut it using, sometimes I do shelf liner. I just couldn't find any that was clear, and I find the other ones aren't elastic enough. They're more, I don't know, I don't like working with the other ones, so I find the clear ones to be the best. So I couldn't find them, so I bought this stuff on Amazon, and it seems to be working really well, and I've had it for a long time, so it's lasting a long time. I think it did wind up being more expensive than the Dollar Tree ones, but it's not a whole lot more expensive just because you get so much more. So I'm gonna put them on the sign. It's using the vinyl to guide me where I'm placing these letters, and I'm trying to make them be kind of the same level, like same height. So I mean, some people are more specific, they measure. I'm just eyeballing this because I wanted it to be, I didn't think it was necessary for it to be measured, but you can, just to see if you know the placement is right. And it's good that you can still remove that vinyl and put it back on. It's not permanent vinyl, so it's not going to rip the stain off. So then I remove my transfer paper so that way I can put these little snowflakes on. And I'm going to dab some Rust-Oleum chocolate and white paint over top of it, and then this sign is done. And I'm just dabbing it on because I found that if I try to paint it on, it sometimes bleeds. So I'm just using this little dabber from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just dabbing the paint on, being careful not to put too much on the dabber. So as you can see, I'm using the lid of the paint can to apply this, so that way I don't, because if you put too much, it'll bleed underneath and then the sign will look messy. And you'll see I fixed the sign up a little bit because even with being careful, it does bleed. And sometimes with the vinyl, if it lifts, when you're putting it on your sign, and I didn't show this step, you want to press really hard. Use an old credit card, or if you have like the Cricut, I forget what it's called, like the little scraper. It's like those Pampered Chef scrapers. Use that to push the vinyl on and get all the bubbles out so it's nice and even. You're much better off to dab on and then let it dry a little bit, and then if you kind of just lift the corner of the stencil up to see if it's the right shade of white that you're looking for, the contrast, then you can leave it at that. But if you feel like you need more, you're better off putting less and then doing several coats than trying to do too much at once, because if you do too much at once, it'll bleed for sure. So I'm just telling you from experience, and try dab on, dab, 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 dab. If you don't have these dabbers from the Dollar Tree makeup, the little makeup sponges work as well. So if you have those on hand, you can use those. And I make this mistake all the time. Try to leave a little bit of vinyl above your writing so you don't have to use anything else for the bleeding, so you don't get paint all over your stuff. But here it is, all finished. I think it's really cute, like a cute little sign for, it'll go great with my white fireplace once I get that done. That tour will probably be, like, not tour, but just my fireplace mantles will be up on my home channel next week. Wanted to check them out. It'll probably be, I'll have a video of my craft room next week, a video for the fireplaces, and for my tier trays. All will be coming up in like the next 10 days. And a quick little advertisement. So my name is Vesna, and this is Vesna TV. If you haven't been to my channel before, thank you so much for stopping by. Check out my videos. I do budget-friendly DIYs, trash, treasure, thrift flips, all sorts of things. As long as it's on a budget and it's beautiful, I do it, I make it, I redo it, and I make it beautiful. That's the kind of thing you like. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can see all of my new videos. Leave me a comment below saying hi. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. And don't forget to leave me a comment and say hi. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks, and on to the next DIY. This is very much a snow-themed kind of DIY video. So the next project is just to paint out these snow letters. Again, these are from the Dollar Tree. If you've seen my Valentine's video, I did the same type of thing with love, but these ones are just painted white. I only did one coat. That's all it took. Again, I'm using the rust-oleum chalk linen white. This, again, I have two fireplaces, one in the basement, one upstairs. This will go great on my upstairs fireplace because I have a darker mantle, so it'll be a beautiful contrast. I have a darker mantle and white brick, so it'll go really nicely. And really simple, just paint them out. Make sure you paint the top and the bottom. You can paint the back as well. I painted the back as well, just in case I wind up wanting to use this a little bit differently down the road. This way it's all done from both sides, but you don't have to if you, just really depends. And I didn't do the best job of painting the back. I just did kind of a light coat on the back just so it would be there. But like I said, it's not necessary, only if you're going to see it from the back. For my mantle, you won't be able to see it in the back, but I thought just in case I should paint both sides. So once you get it covered, here's what it looks like all finished. Like I said, really, really simple, but I love the way these letters look, and they're just so versatile. You could put them on, glue them on a board. You could do really like anything with these letters, and they'll turn out fantastic. So again, really happy with them. And then on to the next project. So the next signs are more for my tiered tray, and they're just mini signs, and they're all kind of the same blue color. So I'm going to have kind of like a bluish, winterish wonderland type of snowy tray theme in one of my trays. So I'm going to be using these little, I made these coasters at Christmas time, but I'm going to use the back of them because I don't need them for the season, but I always like to use everything double-sided, so I'm not bothering on changing the other side. I'm going to keep it as is, and I'm just going to paint out the back. And again, I'm using that rust-oleum chalk linen white paint, and I'm doing 2 coats of it, letting it dry in between coats. Then I use my Cricut to apply this burr stencil and a mitten stencil. Unfortunately, I did not record myself applying the paint, but I used this blue paint from the Dollar Tree. I think it's the Pacific Blue. And I dabbed on, again, the paint using this little dabber from the Dollar Tree. And it's just a smaller kind of stenciling, it's just not a dabber, a stenciling brush. And I like this one because it's nice and small, so for those little intricate projects it's really good. So again, I used the little mitten that I created and the burr sign, and then I am just removing the vinyl pieces that I didn't remove, and then seeing if I need to fix anything up anywhere and doing that all together. I've also gone ahead and just dry brushed a little bit of that blue on the edges as well, and that's about it. There's not a whole lot to this one. Again, really simple but very cute. So again, these little coasters are coasters from the Dollar Tree. They're just like little square coasters that I painted over on the other side, and like I said, I'm using this side. And then I'm also mixing a little bit of the Pacific blue and just a darker blue, a navy blue, just to kind of go over top of these again with a little bit more blue, because as I said, I'm doing like a winter themed kind of blue. And then originally I was going to just put a snowflake on the mitten and then paint over it, and then I remembered I had little snowflake stickers, so I went ahead and did that because I didn't like the way this one looked. But even with the sticker, I wasn't 100% happy, so I just went over top of it with just a little bit of that mixture of the blue, just to not have it be completely the color it was. And that's all there is to it. After I dry brushed this picture too with that mixture of the blue, these two are ready to go. Here they are. They'll look so nice in my tray. I'm very excited to show you guys that as well, so I hope you do come back and check it out over on my home channel. Said there was going to be 3 kind of winter bluish wonderland themed colored signs. So this one is just a leftover sign from the Dollar Tree, actually from Easter, and you can pick up these wood signs at the Dollar Tree at any time, whatever sign you want. This was a little piece that was left, so I'm just going to be cutting it to size. I got these little miter shears just recently, and I'm liking them. I'm still getting used to using them, but they were good for this project. So I'm just going to cut it out so that it is exactly the size I want it to be, and obviously more even. And then I'm going to paint it out blue using that rust-oleum chocolate and white paint. Now originally I was going to use the back for the sign, but when I was taking a part of the sign off, a bit of the back came off, so it wasn't straight anymore, so I had to sand down the believe because it was glittery. So I sanded it using just whatever sandpaper I had on hand, and I also scraped it a little bit with an X-Acto knife just to get that off. But because it had the believe kind of raised a little bit in there, I had to put several coats of the white on. I think it was about 3 altogether. And then my little sign was ready to be stenciled. Now I'm only showing you me painting it once because you don't need to see several coats on it, but I'm drying it on the same part as I did the other 2 coasters. It's just that I did them all at once, so you kind of see what they looked like before they were stenciled. And then I cut off the stencil again using my Cricut, and I'm using the same blue paint to dab on the sign, and the sign says, wait for it, it's very cheesy, there's no place like home. I thought this was going to be a really adorable addition to my tray. So again, I'm doing the same method as I did on the ones before. I stencil it in with the blue, and then I dry brush it with that blue, darker blue, lighter blue mixture. And the paints are acrylic paints from the Dollar Tree. I think the darker blue is actually a tempera paint, and the lighter blue is an acrylic paint, only because that's what I had on hand. And once that dries, again, I dry brush, I correct anything that needed to be corrected, and I dry brush, and that's all there is to this. And I add a little snowflake. And maybe I'm the only one who has these issues, but no matter how careful I am, I almost always have to correct, even if it's just like a little smidget where maybe I haven't let it dry long enough, because if you try to take the vinyl off and it's still wet, you can smear it, or you risk getting some of the paint that's on the vinyl onto your piece. So Maybe I'm just impatient, but I always wind up having to fix just a touch, and maybe not a lot, but just a little bit. That's why that dry brushing is good, because if you've made kind of a mistake, but you want to dry brush it with something, it'll cover it up great, and then it'll look like it was meant to be that way. And the sticker that I add is the same snowflake sticker. It's just a pack of snowflake stickers that I got at the Dollar Tree, but you could draw on a snowflake too. I just liked because this one was a little bit raised, so it gave a little bit more depth to the sign. And one snowflake is white and the other one is blue, and I just wind up dry brushing a little bit of the blue over top of the white and a little bit of the white over top of the blue, just to give it a little bit of just a muted color for the blue and a little bit of a livelier color for the white. And there it is, finished. And last but not least is another kind of trash to treasure sign. So this is a leftover piece of plywood that I'm going to be, again, staining using that rust-oleum glaze, decorative glaze in Java. And I'm just sanding the plywood lightly, just so some of the pieces kind of stick up. I should have maybe taken my palm sander and sanded it completely, but it wasn't necessarily. I wanted a bit of a rustic look. I just more sanded it so that there was no rough spots, so I wouldn't get splinters. But if you wanted a more clear wood, you could sand it down, but this is a very rough piece of plywood, so you won't ever get that really, really, really smooth finish. And again, I'm using the same method of applying the glaze. I'm just using a rag and I'm putting on a light coat. I do wind up doing 2 coats and then I wind up fixing it after because I haven't cut it down yet. My husband is the one who's going to cut this just to make it nice and straight. But I wanted to get the stain on and get it going. He didn't have time to cut it, so I wanted it all done, and then he just cut it when he had a minute. As you can see, both sides need to be cut down, and I'm not applying as much stain at the edges because I know I'm going to be fixing it up, so there's no sense in wasting the stain. And again, I use my Cricut, and I just cut out "Let It Snow." Again, welding the letters together and having all of it fit somehow, using the transfer paper and dabbing on the white using the rust-oleum linen white. Again, just make sure you don't dab on too much. Less is more. You can always go back and add more so it doesn't bleed. If you do get some paint, use like a baby wipe or something like that to get it off of the stain right away, and it should be okay. If not, you can always go back over a little bit, sand it down, and go over it with the stain. No big deal. It's just paint. Again, it's important for you to wait for it to dry before you remove the vinyl. And here it is, all finished. Again, it'll look amazing on my fireplace. I love it. Really cute sign. I might add down the road a little snowflake there, I'm not sure, but here's what they are all finished. Love them all. If you like them, make sure you hit that like button, leave me a comment, tell me which one was your favorite. Stop by on Wednesday. I'm participating in a Wreath Wednesday challenge. It'll be there'll be some beautiful wreaths for you to check out of how to make them. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day and stay safe. And again, thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed.